my name is Andreas Poeschl. I'm from BMW. I'm responsible for the project Infrastructure as a Service, and I'm Senior Solutions Architect. And I would like to talk today about how we would like to implement the private cloud at BMW. What's our approach? It should be open. We are a member of the ODCA. And first, just a short introduction about BMW, our environment, our organization, because some of these figures lead to what we are going to do. Then about the implementation itself. This is the interesting thing. I would like to spend the most of the time, and of course, the next steps. The good thing about BMW, I don't have to explain what we are doing. We are building cars. We are building nice cars, and usually BMW, the name is associated with high technology, innovation, dynamics. And it's not only the product, also the people working there, the other departments like IT. We also inherit this expectation of innovation, dynamics. And we've got a good market position, and we would like to leverage that. Who are the IT people? There are a lot of numbers out there. The important message is there are quite a lot of them, and they are quite distributed. We are distributed all over the world, lots of different countries, lots of different people, lots of different cultures, and lots of different mindsets. And we support even more people in even more countries, even more mindsets, different companies, all our suppliers. So we have to try to combine all those people, and in general, it's always about people within one global IT. The most important stuff is the business. Produce cars, financial services, sell motorcycles and cars. And the group IT enables the business. We support the business, we enable the business, we help them to do their job. It's not just for the IT. So we've got one section of the IT, we call the process IT. They know about the business. They know what the people in the business are expecting. They know about the development, production, what they need. They plan, design, and build the applications, the systems. And on the other hand, the other guys in the central IT, they're a little bit far away from the business, but they build the base for that. Those guys have some group-wide functions, governance, and also the build and run, so building new solutions, architecture for the general IT environment. The central IT builds those solutions, builds that architecture, and runs all the applications and systems the process IT needs for the business. And within this central IT, we also have got the infrastructure operations. We've got the applications, and we've got the infrastructure. And cloud at BMW is currently driven out of the infrastructure. So we've got the run part of the infrastructure, and we've got the build part. So now we are going to build our private cloud to run it internally. What is part of the infrastructure? It's processes, operations management. We've got the workplace solutions, corporate software, application platforms like databases, SAP, web. We've got the data centers, operating systems, network, storage, data center, and the everlasting mainframe. I could spend quite a lot of time describing how our environment looks like. But again, it's not about the detailed figures, it's just about the idea. We've got a large web environment. We've got lots of applications running on a web application server, on web instances. We've got databases. We've got SAP instances. Those areas are our big internal customers. We have even more customers running their own applications, C, C++, third-party software. But they are spread very broadly, and those are very concentrated. So we have got those main internal customers, and we have got the base for that. We are already virtualizing, like nearly everybody usually. And we are using open source Xen and VMware for virtualizing the operating system. At the moment, we've got about 50% virtualized on an OS level, and we are also utilizing what we call multi-project servers. Run a lot of web instances on one physical server. This is still the cheapest way to put software in your infrastructure. And this is also kind of virtualization because you work with virtual IPs. And as Petri said before, it doesn't change everything. Leverage what helps, but keep what is the best for you. And our environment is already 99% Intel servers. We've got Linux and Windows as sole strategic platforms. So this is a good base for moving into a cloud. And for the storage figures, we are using NAS, fiber channel-based SAN, backup archive. These are large numbers. And I could add network ports, network traffic, and all that stuff. But the detailed numbers are not that important. It's more the idea that there's a high potential to benefit from a cloud structure because all these guys want to have it fast. They want to have it anytime, cheap, always available. So we would like to give them what they really require. So we've got the strategic decision that we build our private cloud. We build means we have to do something. Our private cloud, it has to fit BMW requirements. So that was the first part, just some numbers. Now, how are we going to do that? We have got some expectations, like anybody. We encountered some challenges, and there I would also like to talk about how ODCA can help. What are our key decisions for our private cloud, and how are we going to implement that? Because that differs from what most of the other companies do and what a lot of vendors tell us to do. What do our customers expect from our private cloud? Left column, that's cloud, period. Everybody expects that. Fast delivery of standardized services, automated, secure, nothing special about that. The right column is a little bit more specific for BMW. We would like to have independence from vendors, products, and technology. And I mean real independence. Independence to me is not that you can choose what vendor you are dependent on. So you have to be able to exchange every component afterwards. And we are aware that we won't be able to put everything into the cloud. Now or in the midterm future, there will still be the legacy environment. And if we put some effort in developing our infrastructure, we would like to share the benefit between the cloud and the legacy world in both directions. So if we have got already something in the legacy world, let's use it in the cloud. If we develop something for the cloud, let's use it in the legacy world. And you cannot start with everything at once. So let's start with some specific services, offerings, but extend it later on. Extend it vertically, horizontally, public, private, but always keep it open so you can extend it later on. And in combination with the independence from vendors and products, keep control over what you are doing. Don't give control away. Be the cloud broker for your internal customers. So we would like to decide what's good for us, not any vendor. But it's not that easy. One possibility would be go to any vendor, buy something, implement it, but that's not our way to do that. We think that it's essential to integrate the existing infrastructure Otherwise, you won't get it up and running as fast. Yeah. Yeah. We usually use the NIST definition too. So everything is based on the NIST definition. So to us, it's quite the same. So we think we should use what we already have. We would like to have it up and running in production at the end of 2012. If we build something completely new, it won't be possible. What about licenses? We always talk about a nice environment where there seem to be no licenses. And licenses are not only expensive, they are sometimes based on physical cores. How do you manage that? How do you ensure that the software you're running is really bound to specific physical cores? And if you start something, it's very easy to go away where you suddenly have got to log into a specific vendor or solution. So we have to be very careful. And we would like to develop an open architecture, but is it really open? Or is it just copied from some vendors, some proprietary stuff? From the technology side, these are the most important challenges to us, but it's also on the operational side. And the first part I miss in most, if not all, discussions about cloud. What about the people? If people have the feeling that you take away something, you take away their control, they won't join in for the cloud. It will be so hard to really get them on board. So you have to come over the organizational reservations of the people, get them into the boat. If you have got already contracts, and probably everybody has, do they really fit into your ideas of having a cloud? If you have got a contract for a delivery where you don't have any control over the technology, you cannot use a product which relies on having admin access. We would like to do something new. Don't buy just a product. Maybe buy some products or use specific products if suitable, but don't just take something out of the box. But you need to know what you're going to do. You need a lot of skilled people. And it may be hard to really go that way with the internal knowledge. And another point is that people consume services also now, but do you really describe what they are consuming, what they are expecting? They get a VM at the moment, and they use it. And they use specific features you're not describing at the moment. What about the future if you move into the cloud? Suddenly you have got something different. They lose a feature they didn't know about. So you need to know what the service offerings are and what the people expect. And if you combine all these expectations, we found out that are very simple questions. Can I really move my workload to a different hypervisor, to a different provider, internal or external? But it's a real hard answer. What does the customer really require? Customers always show up with solutions. I would like to have this piece of software. No, you don't want that piece of software. You want a specific feature. You don't want that storage. You want a specific service level. What can we deliver? Do we really know what we can deliver? And are these possibilities to be matched? And if we really can match it and we do it, when is such a workload movement successful and when is it not successful? Is it successful if my VM starts on the other side? If the application comes up? If you have undefined service offerings, it might be really hard to really define if a migration has been successful. And this is where the ODCA usages come into play. These are 4 examples where we would like to leverage those usages, but in general, there are nearly all of them applicable to the private cloud. We need a service catalog, so we can really describe what we deliver and what the customer can expect. We need to be able to measure what we are delivering, what the customer really gets. And on the other side, on the technology level, do we know how to compare hypervisors? Do we know how to compare features? Because every vendor, every provider uses a different wording. And also the long-distance workload migration, when is a migration really successful? In terms of cloud, usually the technology is ready very early. You already have everything you need. It's just the existing infrastructure. But it's not only the infrastructure. Infrastructure is just a small part of the cloud. It's mostly about processes, about people, about applications, services. When do they follow? Usually not at once. It takes some time until you can really adopt the processes how you need. It may take even longer until the applications are really ready to leverage what you are providing in the cloud. If they cannot reconnect to a database or they cannot cope with change of CPUs and memory, it's nothing worth. You can run them in the cloud, but they can't leverage that. And there are organization and the contracts. And the order of these topics may vary, but in general, you are not able to have everything in place at once, at one time. So the question is, should we wait until we have everything aligned? Or do we start as early as possible and leverage what we get? We decided to do the second one. And so we made some decisions. How does the BMW private cloud look like? Of course, there's one self-service portal for the customer. And what can he order? He can order VMs, basic IaaS. And he can order some platforms. It's not the platforms you know from the public cloud, Windows, Azure, Google Gears, because we've got a lot of applications already in our environment. And we would like to use or leverage as much as possible from the cloud with our existing environment. And our customer demand was to have web, database, and SAP. So we are going to provide platform as a service for these 3 service groups, platforms. And, we also decided to have IaaS as a base. If you buy a product, a cloud product now, usually you get a self-service portal, a platform as a service part, and it goes down to the very bottom into the infrastructure. You have got admin access to the storage, to the operating system, to the hypervisor. Why? Our key decision has been that we separate the technical and the business orchestration. So the customer uses the self-service portal to talk to the IT service management. The customer doesn't need to know anything about the base. He just wants a service. The service has to be defined, and the service can be consumed. The business orchestration just knows which parts are necessary to deliver a service. So if somebody orders a web environment, the business orchestration knows that you need 2 VMs for the web server and a database.
Your definition of infrastructure as a service, is that related to the router as a function, or is it just a platform as a service?
Infrastructure as a service, in our case, is basically a managed operating system with everything you need for that. So it's network, storage, operating system, hypervisor, and all that stuff. So the business orchestration just knows about the components, but it doesn't know how to provide a VM. It doesn't know how a VM looks like. It just knows I need a VM with this and this and this and this constraint. This has to be stored within the configuration management. Somebody has to know what's going on this whole environment. And even if the components are public, private, anywhere else, the config management for the service itself has to be internally. So who knows how to provide a VM? It's the technical orchestration. The technical orchestration knows that I need some storage, I need a network address, and I need a VM container, and I need an operating system. And we've got this modularity. So we always talk about open interfaces and modules. So we are independent from vendors, products, and also technologies. If we change the technology down here, we don't need to change the service offering, as long as we can keep the same service level agreements, as long as we can keep the same basic offering in terms of services. People don't need to know. The service offerings itself have to be aligned with the BMW business. The business has got a demand for web, SAP, and databases. Not the typical platforms, but to us it's more important to run the business. We have no interest to have some platforms nobody is using. It's for the business, period. And we want to have a tight integration into the existing processes. Identity management, service management. I'll come to that, back to that later, why this is so essential to us. Other key decisions. The interaction between platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, it's always and only via the business orchestration. So there's no direct write access, no direct order from platform as a service to infrastructure as a service. Who would know what's going on? Who would do the configuration management? And the layering we've got at the top level, business orchestration and technical orchestration, is continued throughout the whole cloud service. For example, infrastructure as a service. We've got one technical orchestration, and for the different sub-technologies, we have got a technology-specific automation. What does that mean? We've got separate teams for storage, network, operating systems. Those guys know how to automate this stuff. One possibility, usually the way of the platform as a service software, give us control over your environment and we do the automation. Our way to do it, dear storage guys, dear network guys, do the automation for your stuff and just give us an interface where we can address this automation on a service level. The good thing is they can use this automation in cloud and legacy world. They don't really care about where it is. If I can order storage automatically, I don't care if it's for cloud or not. And so through all the technologies, we always let the current stakeholders do the job, and we just get an interface and combine that via the technical orchestration. Looks like a lot of layers. Yes, that's true, but it's worth the effort. With this layering, we can exchange any part. We don't really care if this is NAS, SAN, or whatever technology. We just want a piece of storage, and we tell those guys, give us storage in a specific way we need it. So what are the cornerstones of our architecture? Leverage, but also improve the existing processes. IT service management, identity management, config management, security management, those are all in place, and we will need them in the future too. And we don't distinguish between cloud security and legacy security. We need a secure environment. We insist, and really insist, on a clear layering and modularity of services, and also technologies. That's nothing our vendors really like, because they would like to sell us a all-in-one product. But we try to find the right products that enable that. And we hope that other companies also like that approach and enforce that. So vendors really offer those products. The control over the different technologies is left at the current stakeholders. In terms of software, we really like and prefer open source software, but if it's too hard to find an open source product and there's a real good proprietary one, use it. We just enable the business. We are not a company that really needs to be open source for any price. And go west, venture new frontiers now. And why? To leverage the existing processes is necessary to have a seamless integration into the existing world. So we can really, well, let's see, probably have a really easy way to migrate existing workloads to the new world. And on the other hand, the existing world also benefits from the improvements of the current processes. If we can speed up something in terms of processes, everybody will be glad about that. The clear layering is necessary to always have the possibility to exchange something, to extend something. If we add 5 other platform as a service blocks, we don't really care. If we split it up between different vendors, we don't really care. Use a different technology. So what? Then the people. If we give the people, the current stakeholders, the idea of what they can improve in their current world, they will join us, and they already joined us. And they are enforcing our goal of developing the BMW cloud. This is so great, because usually you have to discuss with them why you would like to do it this or that way. No, they are just pushing. In terms of open source software, yes, we prefer open source, but is it really worth to have a political arguing? We would like to have the benefit. And due to the modularity, we can exchange it later on. We still have the possibility.
So that minimizes the lock-in problem?
Yeah. This is what the modularity is for. It's a little bit harder in terms of development. Yes, because you always have to find a specific product that stops here. You can use the same vendor or product at the top and at the bottom, but it still has to have the separation. So you can exchange a part later on.
Do you think the cloud model lends itself to that?
Pardon?
Do you think the cloud model lends itself to modularity?
Yeah, I hope so. This would be our approach, and I don't know how you think about that, but from our perspective, this would be the way to go. This would be the real open way. And cloud, of course, if you would like to change something, if you would like to introduce new solutions for already existing requirements, do it now. You start with a quite small number of installations.
So do you think Infinity Band would be the solution for the clustering of the hybrid cloud?
At the moment, I don't think so. I think...
Would that make it more modular if you could interchange, go from Infinity Band to Ethernet?
Cool. Good question. I think that for the moment or near term, we will stay with the Ethernet because it's the most common way. It's also a question of who is able to provide something. As soon as you have got a specific technology that is not that broadly available.
Because Ethernet can be kind of deterministic.
Yeah.
The key is that you want this modular function, no matter latency. Everybody's looking at the Infinity Band, and that's a cluster infrastructure. In front end, and for the actual network, Ethernet. So I think when you think about having a modular function, a modular cloud, or multiple cloud computing processes.
So to us, currently, we don't look into specific technology. We would like to be independent from it. So if it's necessary to change the technology, yes, we can exchange it later on. But at the moment, we are not stuck to a specific technology. We use what we already have because we've got skills, we've got the products, we've got the environment. Why shouldn't we use that? Yeah, and if it's necessary to change something So we might just add a different block here or split up the network. The technical orchestration will know when do I need to use this or that technology, but it doesn't know about how to really use it. It just addresses this or that part of the technology.
You have different architectural requirements for your CAD programming?
HPC programming is currently not part of that.
And maybe it would help out. Nobody probably can hear back room the questions, but if you want to use the mic, that'd be awesome. I know you guys, you can hear Andreas, but
yeah.
Oh, no, I'm asking him about at BMW. They have CAD development. So he was to make it something about this whole thing of modularity. Is the CAD group part of the cloud environment?
They are already using kind of cloud. HPC is the typical cloud approach because the software is able to leverage the scale out possibilities. And they are sometimes using different technology, yes, but in terms of our concept, we really don't care about that. We leverage whatever is necessary to reach our goals. So yes, InfiniBand might be a possibility, but
I'm for Ethernet, but everybody's pushing for this. There's this new architecture that's coming up with this question of how to make it modular. You go from
on the service level, we don't care about the technology. So from our perspective, we stay with Ethernet at the moment, and if we need to change something, we can do it. That's the good thing. We are not stuck to a specific product or vendor. If a vendor doesn't support a specific network topology or a specific hypervisor, and you are bound to that vendor or product, you cannot change. We would like to decide what we are using. We know what's best for BMW and not any vendor out there.
Do you think you meet on hypervisor?
At the moment, we base everything on virtualization, but in general, we could also use physical servers. We could also use any other possibility to separate stuff.
Can you tell us, it's nice to use this, but I don't think it's on. Can you tell us what particular application areas you've gone into first, and then what you've already added and what will be added in the near future or in the future? I mean, you have a lot of things with big computing demands like clash or crash testing, environmental testing. Many of the other automakers like GM or Ford or Chrysler have not moved them into the cloud yet, and they don't seem to have any plans. And other big automakers in Europe like Peugeot or Daimler, don't seem to be doing what you're doing. Can you kind of give us an idea of what particular areas you've been migrating into the cloud and why those are the ones you chose and what you're doing next, et cetera?
So in general, potentially being moved into the cloud is what we already have virtualized now. Because those applications, those customers already know what it means to gain flexibility. They demand more. In the very beginning, they went into the virtualization because of the price, but nobody talks about the price anymore. It's flexibility, it's possibilities. And I think everything that is currently virtualized has got potential to be moved into the cloud. And we virtualized nearly anything up to production control systems. So we've got our most critical applications also virtualized. And cloud is a consumption model. The infrastructure will be the same. We still need to assure SLAs. We still need to assure services. So if it's the same infrastructure and we ensure the same service, what's so different? It's more about flexibility. So we improve the current infrastructure to add more flexibility, to speed up things. And for the web instances, nearly everything would be possible to go into the cloud, I think. For the databases, it might be a hard way, especially existing databases. Everybody tells us it's hard with databases. They are not able to do operating system updates without interruption, without downtime. So we are introducing a new database open source database with platform as a service, where we have got the possibility to scale out database. And for
What database is that? Is it Postgres or is it your?
Yeah, you're looking at Postgres. We're still using other databases. So we are not bound to a specific database. It's a technology. If you need a specific service, you can choose the technology which fits your current requirement. Yeah. At the moment, zero downtime is really an issue with databases.
The whole thing is go have a parallel database. Can we receive role-based?
We'll do it step by step. So there are so many possibilities in terms of databases, also platforms. But let's start what we have at the moment, what we can really use at the moment. The customer has to do something. He has to modify the applications, maybe, to really leverage the possibilities of cloud. If we come up with too many new things.
So is one of the things that's holding you back, like if you take clash testing as an example of a major application with huge database capabilities, is the fact that you can't move the database into the cloud holding you back from moving that whole application?
In terms of crash simulation, for example,
Right.
From my perspective, we already have the private cloud for HPC because we've got our grids, and in
So
general,
your
what
grid
we're
is-
doing with grids is
the grid is in the
it's
cloud. Right.
It's an interface for the customer where you just drop your job and the job is getting done. So we already have that part of cloud, but HPC is different from the regular IT because those guys are different. They always need the newest technology and the hippest stuff. So yes, we already have the internal grids, the HPC cloud for internal purposes. Those guys are also looking into private, public, hybrid clouds. But at the moment, we focus on the regular IT, on the business IT.
So, quick question for you. So, as you guys were moving into, looking at cloud environments, did you move up towards like an SOA model in the enterprise first, so that you would get to a certain level of maturity as an enterprise IT model, so that your consumers and lines of businesses would actually understand the concept of a service bus, the concept of service delivery, or did you just ad hoc say, okay, we're going to do this?
The cloud implementation itself is more bottom-up. So we come from the infrastructure. We try to find out what's good for the customer and what are their demands. So we didn't come up with SOA or anything like that. We know what we have got at the moment, and we know the complaints. What are the customers asking for? And we try to provide that, what the customers are asking for at the moment, via cloud approach.
One of my questions is BMW, in terms for your database issues, there's no SQL databases out here. Well, there's two questions I want to ask, because it just seems like your hybrid cloud is like a part of your ERP, and in a way of interfacing your applications for, I guess, for car delivery and customer service and stuff like that. So my second question is, how difficult is it for you to move into this, take your CAD applications and move it into the cloud? Do you think it's just is the bottleneck just a database?
I don't know. I just can't tell. So at the moment, we are concentrating on that stuff I was talking about, and maybe we extend our focus or our scope later on, but at the moment, I just don't know. We look into technology like NoSQL, but it's more have a look at it. We don't implement it at the moment. So as I'm running out of time, I would like to talk about the next steps. We are going to provide a white paper, a more detailed white paper. This is just an idea on what are our ideas, but we would like to provide more information on how to implement, how to push that. And we would like to discuss this publication with other customers and also with solution providers, what they think about. We would like to have feedback. What is good, what is bad, what could be made different? Or are other customers thinking the same way we do, but they just didn't do that? And for our implementation, we are looking for solutions that are really aligned with our architecture and with the ODCA usage models. And we would like to encourage the ODCA to share a lot of best practices from all the different customers, because I think there are a lot of really good solutions out there, but do we really know about? It's good to discuss because we also benefit from that. So I would be glad about any discussion on that, personally, email, anyway. So, and I hope it has been a benefit for you, and thank you.
So Andreas, we have a little more time for a couple more questions if anybody wants to step on up.
That was a quick ending.
So in taking your applications into, obviously you have a private cloud environment, but do you have a sort of like data classification and application classification process that you go through for readying yourself for private, public type cloud
I
environments?
think this is one of the most challenging parts, really know what you have. Because there are so many legacy applications, you don't really know how they are interacting with each other. So the classification of the applications, of the services, would be a real hard part. And this is something, I think it's good to start with the private cloud because you can't postpone that. Yeah, you can learn, because as soon as you move it into the cloud, you've got new possibilities to measure that. Sometimes you really need to measure that. It shouldn't be the case. You should know what your applications are doing, but there's a small amount of applications where it's really hard to get information about.
So the reason why I sort of mentioned it is because it's actually got two strings to it. Not only is it just a cloud type discussion, but it's also a bring your own device type discussion as well. So it sort of covers, I know that's probably not you probably don't have that specific remit, but from an infrastructure perspective or a sort of application security perspective for devices going outside of your organization, it's the same discussion.
There's a parallel project or initiative. We've got the private cloud project, and it's also, we enable the post-PC era. So yes, those are the big topics, mobility and cloud. So big data is still left, but maybe we start that later on. Okay.
So thanks, Andreas. Let's give him another round of applause.